In our latest trip down memory lane, we have been looking at the smallest of the small for the Transformers G1 line, that being these guys. They are the Micromasters, and the Decepticons enter the fray today with the Airstrike Patrol. Of course, these guys might also be considered Autobots, depending on the fiction you follow. Either way, stick around, because these guys are going to be our focus in the latest Gotbot True review. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Dennis Moulton, aka Gotbot. As always, please like, comment, share, and of course subscribe. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, Transformers Collectors NL, and me everywhere. And this is, I'm going to call them, the Decepticon Airstrike Patrol. I'm going to opt for these guys to be Decepticons because the Decepticons, they always need more in their ranks, man. In Japan, I do believe, this same set, this same group were Autobots with vastly different characterizations, especially for Whisper, who is the leader of this group here, but I feel like he was, I don't know, young, inexperienced, maybe a bit bumbling in Japan, so I kind of like the Decepticon iteration of these guys better. Anyway, in terms of characterization, the entire group here are planes, which is different from what we've looked at so far. And it's nice that they kind of fall in line with the Decepticons usually being planes. But there's something that these guys give up that I don't really think helps the set. In fact, it may even weaken it significantly. I'll explain what I mean when we head over to the table and take a closer look at these guys. And the Decepticons entered the fray with the Airstrike Patrol. Although if you follow the Japanese continuity, this was also an Autobot team, and a vastly different characterization than what we get here. Now, I'm going to stick with them as Decepticons because Decepticons always need more bolstering. You know, they always need more support. Plus, you can never have too many Decepticons. This group, of course, is made up of Whisper and Stormcloud, who we recently got updated, as well as Tailwind and Nightflight, who we will, of course, take a look at. I'll do a side-by-side with the updates, as well as a custom that I did if you haven't seen it yet. This is on loan to me by Wayne, friend of the channel, which means, though two of these guys have not yet been updated, and I don't know if they will in the Siege line or not, we're probably not going to get a chance to do a side-by-side later on. We'll obviously discuss them, but it'll be in reference to what we see here because, of course, I got to get these back to him. They're not mine. That being said, the leader of the group is the ever-mysterious Whisper. And here's a case of an update that has occurred in the Siege line. Here is the Siege Whisper, or Visper, if you will, because he has been renamed. Here is the G1 Whisper. I don't know, some sort of a blackbird, stealthish type of thing. I don't know what he turns into. Some sort of plane man. I don't know. I'm not up on my planes, but like, either version is good. You know, either one looks good. At least I think so. I like his characterization better for a Decepticon kind of leader, I suppose. I feel like he's supposed to be more goofy in the Japanese continuity as an Autobot, or at least inexperienced. So I dig him as a Decepticon. Plus he's purple and black. Classic Decepticon colors. Of course, taking this guy out of it, he, I guess, rolls good, you know, but like, again, and I've said this before with a plane, you want to go whoosh, because he's a plane. You know, it is what it is. So, yeah, he rolls. I guess he rolls all right, but who cares how well he rolls? As you might expect, he's not, you know, mind-boggling to transform. We put his wings up. We flip up the nose cone. We straighten down the legs. They were like kind of bent up in a seated position. So that's a little bit different. And we bring the arms forward and we stand him up. And here we have him in his robot mode. Now, like I said, it's a little bit different because a lot of times we flip the lower legs out on these guys. That's not what happens here. Here is something you know, a little bit different, because you have to sort of take the legs from a squat up seated position and straighten them out. The hinges on this guy quite tight, by the way. But the end result is a cool looking little Decepticon here. The arms, you know, they can go forward and back. They can't go all the way around because of the wings. Obviously, he can get in a seated position. The legs are not separated. Sometimes they're connected at the knee, but you can move the two lower legs independently. You can't do that with this guy. Here he is next to his Siege counterpart, so to speak, and my custom Whisper. He is, we're gonna see him again later on, because I'm working on a way to incorporate, you know, this guy into something. It'll be coming up, but I think for a custom it was a nice homage to the original. The original looks cool. He is not the most functional of Micromasters. I mean, we've even looked at a few here on the channel already. Patriot Prime looked at a bunch about a year ago during his Micromaster month in May, I believe it was. And because his lower legs are connected together, he doesn't quite have the same level of articulation as everybody else. Of course, Whisper's not the only update that we had. No. We also had an update for this guy. It is Stormcloud. And here's the funny thing. I think that the Siege Stormcloud is perhaps the absolute best Micromaster mold we've gotten. It is definitely the most articulated and interesting to convert. This guy is like, this isn't aerodynamic. I'm just, you know, not to be picky and harsh, I'm just saying, it's not very aerodynamic. Now, he again rolls fine, but we want the swooshing. That's what we want. Let's be realistic here. To convert this guy, put the wings back, and bring the legs down, flip the nose cone up, stand them up, bring the arms forward. It is the exact same transformation as we had for his partner, Whisper. That being said, and I don't think I showed a comparison in the airplane mode, but oh well, I think we know that the Siege one, you know, it looks good compared to this. But speaking of the Siege one, we can at least now do the comparison in robot mode, and the Siege one is like kind of significantly bigger. It is definitely more articulated, much better articulated. Nothing special about the G1 version of this guy. The Siege one, spectacular. In terms of articulation, exactly the same as Whisper, where the arms are able to go kind of forward and back, a little bit hindered by the wings. He can get in a seated position. The lower legs are not independent from each other. This isn't a case where he's just connected at the knees. This is a case where the entire lower leg is connected as one piece. Of course, all that being said, like with all of these Micromaster teams, we do have two that have not yet been updated at all. That being Tailwind and Night Flight. We're going to do Tailwind first, I think. And Tailwind is a cool looking little plane who again rolls well, but we want the swooshing. It is what it is. Very much like Power Glide, you know, it's that sort of plane. I don't know what they're called. The color on this, interestingly, reminds me of like a Cobra Rattler. It also reminds me of Decepticon Viper that was released during the Combiner Wars line. Now, of course, Viper's not Tailwind, but like I feel like it's a nice little nod to this guy because of the coloration. The wings, they fold back on this dude. The cockpit section folds down. The legs come down from a seated position, and boom, there you go. That's it. So you straighten them up from a seated position. You bring the wings back and the cockpit back over his head. The arms are static and can do absolutely nothing. They're just there to say, hey, he has arms and he can sit down. Again, like, it's nice that we have some planes there, and he's also real back heavy. Like, he does not like to stand. You really sort of gotta lean him forward a little bit. our little gray boy here, that being Night Flight. And I love Night Flight's name. I think it's such a cool name. Again, he rolls, but we want swooshing because it's a plane, so you just pick him up in your hand and swoosh him around. Cool looking plane. I dig it. I absolutely dig it. We can bring back the cockpit section. We can fold down the legs a la Leader 1. We can kind of fold in the wings, again, a la Leader 1, and we can bring the arms forward. And we stand him up like that. He stands all right. The arms can go forward and back again, hindered by the wings. He can get in a seated position. The lower legs, again, are one solid piece. And while I do wholeheartedly believe that the Decepticons need more in their ranks, I feel like this set was almost kind of rushed. It's certainly compromised for their alt modes. The paint apps, they're 10. There's no doubt about it. All of these are probably going to be a 10 because we don't have a lot of animation or anything to compare them to. I mean, yes, there's some fiction, of course, for MicroMasters, but it's not as popularized. So, you know, 10, it's the characters, there's no doubt. In terms of conversion, the conversions here, pretty interesting. You're taking these guys more from a squat up seated position and elongating them rather than flipping the legs down for the most part. Except with Night Flight, you flip his legs down, but then you fold in his wings. So there's a little added piece there. So transformation 10, but then we get to the articulation. And I've said, up to this point, based on the other groups that we've looked at, that the articulation is very similar to what we got with Titan Masters, except that the lower legs were separated. Even though they're connected at the knee, you could kind of bend up one leg without bending up the other. And I said because of that, and because of the time that it came, which was just before Car Robots and the kind of big splurge that was Beast Wars, that, you know, I'd give it a pass at about a 5 or so. And I said that those sets were a 7 or an 8. I feel like here, the articulation is more compromised. In fact, one of them can't even move his arms. I'm going to say the articulation, even for the time, was 3.5. Nothing great, nothing fantastic. If the other groups that we've looked at so far are 7 or an 8, I feel like this set is about a 6 or a 7. You know, it's all right, but it's not quite as good as the other ones. And if your experience with MicroMasters was based on the Autobot Battle Patrol and Race Car Patrol first, and then you came to this set, I think this set would let you down just a little bit. And here we are once again, and these guys, admittedly, are pretty flashy to look at. I love the cohesive color scheme. I love the purple and black, and then the blue and gray. I think that it works well for Decepticons, not so much for Autobots, but the limitations to the arms not being able to go all the way around, and especially to the lower legs all being one piece, I think hurts this set just a little bit. I know, it's G1, so we don't expect anything spectacular in terms of the articulation. And granted, the transformation is a little bit different than what we've seen so far by having to move the legs differently than we're used to, at least for 3 out of the 4 of them here. It's an alright set, but I feel like this set is phoned in a little bit more, with less care given to it than kind of the 2 Autobot sets that we've already looked at, that being the Race Car Patrol and the Battle Patrol. It's okay, but I think if you had experienced the 2 Autobot sets first and then came to this, you'd be pretty darn disappointed. I know, I kind of was. Yes, it's alright, it's just not as alright as the Autobot ones, at least so far. But onward we go and see what the future holds for these guys, because we have had 2 out of 4 of these guys updated, and both updates are pretty great. In fact, the update for Stormcloud is probably the best we've gotten yet. Who knows if we'll get the other 2, but I certainly hope so, and I certainly hope that they're given the justice that they deserve. Anyway, let me know what you think about these guys. Again, please hit that subscribe button. It helps me out so very much. I appreciate you giving me some of your very valuable time, and I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit right here inside the videos.